Oh my God.
Yeah, my name's Paul Carter. I live in a small rural market town called Lutterworth, almost bang in the centre of England. I've been a mountain biker most of my life. Um, I built my own mountain bike, my very first one, when I inherited some money from my grandma. The first bike that I built was what we call a rigid bike, which means it had no suspension at all. So you can imagine, therefore, that if you're riding along anything that's a little bit rough, then of course that roughness comes straight through the front forks into your hands and your arms. And of course, if you stay in the seat, it comes straight up through your backside.
You said you were having some symptoms in your arms and shoulders.
But yes, I did find over many years I was getting not pain, but I was starting to sort of get a bit pins and needly in my hands in particular, um, and a little sore occasionally in my shoulders. But yeah, I've actually now got a little bit of mild carpal tunnel syndrome. Partly by that, I think, but also partly by the fact that last summer I did an awful lot of work with power tools, both building a new decking and renovating a decking that we already had, particularly with a sander, and that brought it on quite sort of badly. But yeah, I've always suffered with the very occasional, very mild symptoms of that, which I think is down to the mountain biking on a rigid bike, and the new bike did alleviate that. The reason I bought a Boardman team, which was the top of the range of the hardtails that Boardman do. And hardtail refers to the fact that the bike has got a solid rear triangle, but front suspension. So it takes a lot of the impact away from your arms, your wrists, and your shoulders when you're going over something a bit rough, because it has the front suspension forks, but also the front suspension forks on this bike are air sprung rather than steel sprung, bouncing along on a space hopper, which is a large rubber ball filled with air. So air sprung gives a much more comfortable ride and soaks up a lot more of the sort of the high impact that you get from bumps in the road, or in this instance in the trail.
So when you started having
But
symptoms on your previous mountain bike before you got the suspension, um, did you immediately associate it with the biking, or did you think it was something else?
no, I didn't associate it with the biking initially. Like I say, it was quite occasional and it was very mild. I've always been very active in doing things, so I just thought it was a combination of things. And well, okay, I'm getting a bit older. Well, that's just the way it goes. You know, you could stay in bed all your life and perhaps be in perfect health, but that's not living's about, is it?
Actually, I don't think staying in bed will lead to perfect health. We're a little
Well,
too
no, I don't.
sedentary.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't actually.
You noticed the symptoms and the tingling when you got your new mountain bike and finally put the two together.
Well, it was the fact that because I got a new mountain bike with suspension, which takes the sting of the trail, particularly a rough trail, out of your arms, hands, shoulders. And I immediately noticed that, wow, this gives such a much smoother ride, and the impact. I'm not getting the impacts through the handlebars anymore, up into my upper torso, and I found it easier to ride. And I found straight away I was getting a little less of the tingling, a little less of the pins and needles that I used to get in my hands. And then that's when it clicked for me that, oh right, well that the mountain biking on a rigid bike was what was previously must have been the major contributory factor towards those symptoms.
When you got this new one as a birthday present for yourself, you're thinking, oh,
Hmm.
this is good.
Yeah, I wished I'd done it years before. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when it twigged that some of these mild symptoms, as mild as they were, they must have been contributing to this problem. And had I continued to ride a rigid, then those problems would undoubtedly have just got worse and worse. I had originally just put them down to all the dangerous things I've been doing in my life. So, but yeah, the mountain biking must have been the big contributor.
It's something that I say repeatedly is you've got to take care of the hands you have, because you can't use your other pair of hands to do what you want to do or like to do. And these things add up. You mentioned power tools, and I imagine there was some vibration coming from that sander, which is a risk factor for injury.
Yeah.
And you use your hands for everything.
All those sort of things contribute, and I guess people probably don't. Certainly, I didn't realize how much that can affect you.
And that's why I'm so happy that you're coming on, because I think it's really important for people to hear these sorts of stories about the other things that can happen through activities that no one would necessarily think of. And so you've just helped raise the consciousness of lots of other people.
Click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you'll know when new videos are posted.